Before we begin, I need to tell you that the footage from my computer isn't that good since most of it is taken up by black and the video is small somehow. I tried to fix it, but I can't find a solution. I don't know how it's happened, so sorry for the inconvenience. When it comes to the first Evil Within, my mind is torn. I don't know if I want to like it or hate it, but if I were to give my honest opinion, I'd say I almost hate it. While there is a lot of stuff in it I find interesting, a lot of it is unfortunately buried in a ton of things that truly bring it down, such as stiff characters and character building, boring and slow plot, dumb inventory limits, and a ridiculous difficulty that's just really annoying to go through. You'll see what I'm talking about. I've played both games, the first on PC and the second game on PS4. I really don't understand how people like the first game or dislike the second. I played the game from beginning to end about 3 or 4 times. I'm estimating here. All playthroughs were on casual difficulty and with a new game plus, but this game still didn't feel fun to play until I managed to upgrade everything to its max. A lot of you might complain or ask about why all my playthroughs were on casual difficulty, but trust me, I have an excuse for all of them. The game is hard even on new plus mode. Just trust me. First, I'm going to go over the beginning of the game to give some insight, and I'm going to tell you how I got into survival horror games. It's going to be blurry because I get things mixed up. From what I've seen or heard, Shinji Mikami, the creator of Resident Evil and director of RE 1 and 4 and a few other games, wanted to try and to return to the roots of survival horror. A lot of people were hyped for this game, and from what I've heard, it sold really well, like with RE4. Correct me if I'm wrong. Three years later, the sequel came up to cover up plot holes that weren't answered. I didn't buy the game that time because I didn't have a PS4 and I wasn't into survival horror games. After I heard of Silent Hill in mid-2020, I watched reviews, gameplays, etc., and I began to grow interest in the genre. After seeing reviews of Evil Within 1 and 2, I personally think The Evil Within is the most divisive duo in the genre. There are those who like the first game and dislike the second, those who like the second game and dislike the first, and those who like both games, and probably those who think the first game is bad but the second one is either okay or fine. I've gotten into a lot of arguments, well actually maybe not a lot, about probably 2 or 3 about the first and second game, and there are videos I've seen that break down The Evil Within 1 and 2, and I agree with whoever likes the second and hates the first. Without further interruption, let's get into this. Also, for those of you who say The Evil Within 1 was really hated on, to be honest, I've done my research, looked everywhere, and it's safe to say that The Evil Within 1 was more liked than it was hated. I will be spoiling the story in its entirety. It's going to sound really goofy and it might not make sense to a lot of you guys. However, that's the way the story was told. It's done in a way that just really doesn't fit or just isn't the right way, or trust me, you'll see what's going on. Skip spoilers, go to the time stamped on the screen just to avoid it, to get my full opinion of the story. The game begins with Sebastian Castellanos, which is a really funny last name in my opinion, driving to a hospital to investigate a crime scene where the city is deprived of people. There's also Connolly, who we don't get much screen time of. There's also Kidman and Joseph, who are partners of Sebastian. They answer a radio, then there's a high-pitched noise that goes off. When they get there, it's a massacre, and they find only one survivor, Marcelo Jimenez. After that, Sebastian checks the cameras and sees a guy hooded in white kill 3 officers in a supernatural way. After that, he disappears and reappears behind Sebastian, plugging a needle in him. Then Sebastian wakes up in a room with a butcher dude, and so he escapes and somehow misses a tripwire that's obviously right in front of him. Somehow the butcher guy known as the Sadist catches up to him and cuts his leg. Instead of finishing him off, he tries to kill Sebastian using the saw blade machine, which doesn't help because there's a trapdoor that's not locked. After going through the sewers and some hospital rooms, the Sadist catches up with Sebastian somehow, and again, somehow we escape from him. The whole opening is just really lazy. Like, how do you escape like that? Like, it just really, it's not explained that well. After that, we're back in the hospital and the world begins to shift around, Here arises another problem. The characters are stiff, like, they don't react to everything around them. Well, they do, but in the most bored way possible. Like seriously, like there's a lot of things that in the real world if I encountered I would be panicked, but these guys are they're so calm for some reason. There are some rare exceptions, but they barely react. Also, they left behind Joseph for some reason. Like, it's not explained. Like, Connolly says he waited, but Yeah, I've seen videos. I don't know, just After a high-speed getaway, they nosedive from a tunnel, and Sebastian is carried on a gurney by some hospital workers and wakes up in a room with a nurse who acts nice in a cryptic way, but most of the time she's just, I don't know, there for, she just doesn't act, just, your generic nurse or person who just acts creepy around you, or just acts nice but unsubtly creepy, whatever that means. After being burnt in an electric chair, we wake back up in a burning ambulance. Sebastian gets out and finds Connolly, who turned into a zombie and still barely reacts. After passing through a bunch of zombies and swimming to a village in the forest, he finds Marcelo Jimenez, who said they need to find Leslie and get past more zombies. Here is where we fight the sadist, who for some reason is captured, and if you try to hurt him while he's captured, he breaks free and the boss fight begins. What you might want to do is kill all the zombies in the area, but try using stealth and conserve ammo as much as possible. After seeing Marcelo's brother as a zombie and killing him, and finding Leslie, we get attacked by an invisible zombie which there's no way to tell where it is. After finding Leslie, we're confronted by the same guy who tried to stick a needle in our eyes. Ruvik, the guy in white who killed the 3 officers, we'll get more info on him later. We get teleported by chasing him into a room by a Shining reference, and here is where I think second or third arena happens. I recommend exploring for materials whenever you get the chance. After that, we go down a hall where we meet Laura for the first time. Laura is different from all the other Onryos, mainly because she isn't really a ghost. She crawls on all 4s and has 2 extra arms. She spawns from corpses, which I think you need to burn her. I don't recommend using bullets to kill her. For now, save her ammo and just run away. After that, Ruvik appears again and causes the stairwell to fall down after making us go back up. Sebastian falls on a wall in a cool but confusing way. Then we fight more invisible zombies and do some weird puzzle room thing where you have to hit one switch, which is mostly easy, depends if the textures load on time quickly. That's caused me to die. And here is another scene where Sebastian acts completely emotionless. We find Joseph in a bathtub and wake him up, and Sebastian still acts motionless, despite Joseph only being his only partner. After waking him up, Joseph goes all insane for some moment, and Sebastian acts confused like he just saw his tap water running. Later on, Joseph turns into a zombie and Sebastian still doesn't react appropriately. Honestly, Sebastian is almost as emotionless as Henry from Silent Hill 4 The Room. He reacts well, and sometimes there's a bit of difference in his voice, but still he has the same blank reactions. After finding Kidman, who's trapped in an aquarium-like cell, here is another arena that sucks so damn much. Seriously, I died so many times, even on the easiest difficulty, and I still die because of those fucking zombies with infinite dynamite. After beating the arena and solving a puzzle where Joseph somehow knows the numbers for the 2 dials, Kidman and Joseph fall from the floor that collapsed like gravel from Minecraft. After fighting another horde of zombies and reuniting with our friends, Kidman says maybe they didn't see her as a threat. Then we get separated by Laura arms, and then we go through another segment where we meet Laura again and we have to burn oil underneath her, and then she runs away on fire. Here is where another boss happens. You have to burn Laura using the corpses. Hopefully you stocked up your matches or upgraded the amount you can hold, because you're going to need them a lot. After that, we see a memory of Ruvik using Leslie as a test subject. After a quick teleportation trick, we see a brain with a stem that forms a tree, and here is where we have to fight 3 zombies. We can't kill them, but we need to pull these wires out of their heads to disable the machine. After doing that, we have some sort of vision of the future. I think, after being shown a doctor putting a needle where our eye is, we wake up in the safe room and Sebastian asks a question and the nurse ignores it. She's like that through the whole game. We look at some photos and see a hand coming out of a hole, then the room goes dark. We go down a hall and witness a boss we'll encounter on another level. It charges at us and then we're teleported again to a different version of the hall we were just in. Honestly, if you're confused about what's going on, believe me, it's an actual thing. It's normal for you to feel confused in this game. Just trust me here. The game keeps transitioning us to random locations, I think it's probably because I think for showcase. I don't know why it does this. Well, there is a reason why we're being teleported around, but it's revealed so late, or like so far into the game, like at another point farther than here. It just gets boring, and chances are you won't even remember it. This game looks great, but there are other games that look great even without teleporting me to other locations. Just describing the entire thing is just hard and forgettable and just mind-numbing. If you see things in the game that I didn't mention, I forgot those either by accident or on purpose, because they're just that forgettable and they don't seem that important. We find Leslie at the end of the hall, and then we're in some castle. We find Joseph in a fight in another arena with stupid amounts of zombies and cramped spaces where I died way too many times. After that ridiculous round, we find a sniper rifle. I recommend using the mirror to your left to enter your safe room to save your game. Trust me, it's necessary, because after that there's another stupid arena where I have to shoot zombies in 4 boxes, shooting spears everywhere. How are we supposed to know that? I have no fucking clue. Then we fight the sadist again, and here comes another problem. Bosses are repeated. There's not that much variety other than the 3 main ones. Some bosses that are repeated I don't mind, but others not so much. The most repeated boss fight would probably be the sadist. After that we go up on an elevator. After fixing it, a cutscene plays where this guy gets his head chopped off and Joseph clumsily steps on a trap and the bridge blows up, separating us. We have to stop the zombies from chopping off Joseph's head. After doing that, Joseph threatens to shoot himself, but Sebastian stops himself and still doesn't show that much emotion other than confusion to him. After fighting another so-called arena, they find a marketplace, and then they guess when and where they are because of the things seen right at the Middle Ages with electricity. Joseph assumes that they're jumbled up memories. They hide when they see zombies, and Joseph asks what it was like after an accident regarding Sebastian. Also, I may have forgotten to tell you guys, Sebastian's a drinker, but he hasn't been drinking at all through the whole game. His daughter was killed in a fire and his wife went missing trying to investigate. You think there's more? No, there isn't, because that's really all you'll get. Another thing that's disappointing is that the characters are cliché. Well, mostly Sebastian. But from what I know, clichés can be done right. They aren't bad, but this game doesn't do them well. Well, I'm used to clichés, but I've grown up with them. But these guys, like, because they're emotionless, I'm not engaged with these guys. Especially Sebastian. Because they're emotionless and really it's just a stupid way of trying to sympathize with them. After hearing Leslie scream and fighting 2 giants, we find a movable statue. Then we get teleported to the safe room. Unless you want/need to upgrade something or unlock some vault, it's pretty useless being teleported back here. Sebastian wakes up and we solve a puzzle for some reason I had trouble with. Don't ask why, okay? And we encounter a wolf called Sentiel in a cage. But when we reach a gate, he breaks free and Joseph, who was previously running, somehow stopped to get knocked over. After another boss fight, we have to go back to get Joseph's glasses. After that, they rest in a church. We hear Leslie and Kidman talking. Joseph says something cryptic, but interesting. Then Ruvik appears and transitions us to catacombs. We go through 2 pathways to find stones to put in some blocked passageway, and this is where we meet the Keeper for the first time. Aside from when he locks us in a gas-filled tunnel and blocks the passageway. Keeper is a discount pyramid head, but a unique one. He tries to kill us with an Indiana Jones-styled booby trap. We meet Leslie, who somehow got separated from Kidman. It doesn't matter if you free him or not. You free him, he accidentally activates a trap. If you don't free him, you still can't open the door all the way. This is where we fight the Keeper. He can respawn over and over again. You have to stop the gas from killing you by turning valves. Make sure to go back to the table of the valve after turning the second one. After escaping him, you find yourself in a cave with a new kind of zombie. After being teleported to the hospital again, we meet Marcelo and some machine. Finally get info on what's going on. Sebastian and his friends are in a simulation, a Matrix-like world where minds are entwined. Everyone is contributing to this machine in front of us. The machine is called STEM. It's the reason why everything looks weird around us and why we're teleported here and there. Here's something that people say is the reason everything is going insane. Because we're in someone's head and that someone is Ruvik. Ruvik is the one with conscious influence, which means he can control the world around him. But to me it doesn't excuse the stupid difficulty and story that drags for the first half of the game, or reasons why we have to go through dumb arenas, and it doesn't make up for the flaws in the story, like why can't Ruben kill Sebastian and his friends easily. And yeah, I probably missed some things back there, but the reason is small in some way, just over with quickly and back to being goofy. After that, we get teleported again, but to some giant brain and its stem that forms a tree. Then we're teleported back to the room where we were in, but Marcelo and the machine are gone now. We go down a hall, and then this creature called Amalgam Alpha comes and chases us into our safe room. Ruvik appears again. We're outside in a field, tied to a gurney, where some people burn us alive. Then we're teleported again for the 4th or 5th time, and we're at a mansion. We enter, see Marcelo and Leslie go through the door, but leave us behind. After that, we look around the mansion to find a way to open the gate. There's a trap that activates and forces us to press a button to deactivate it. This level has its own problems. Sometimes Ruvik appears and forces us to run away, otherwise he instantly kills us. Hiding places don't actually work. There are bombs everywhere and them mixed with enemies, which makes it even harder and more of a chore than a challenge. We find brains to stick needles in, and we see memories of Ruvik. Marcelo found that Ruvik liked to dissect people, so he decided to take him under his wing and provide him with subjects from the hospital. From what I've seen from an analysis video, he wanted to repay his family for their donations to the hospital. How Ruvik managed to hide this fact, I have no clue. Also, his father tried to hide him from the world for some reason which never really explained how and why he did it. Ruvik escapes and murders his parents sometime later, and because of the donations being stopped, Marcelo says that the hospital won't give him materials, and he finds out about Ruvik's invention or research, which again isn't explained. After this, we go down a hall. Ruvik teleports us to a room where we see a ghost of his child self, and then it turns into red dust where we follow it, and then this shit happens. Ruvik turns into a red clouded humanoid figure thing. And then we run away from it, only to go into a room that turns into a hall, and tripwires are placed everywhere with spikes at the top. And this sucks because I couldn't tell how close I was to the wires. Like, I accidentally trip one and then I would just instantly die. Like, seriously, it's so unfair. Like, also, if you die, you have to restart the whole thing from the beginning. After that, we get teleported to some maze where locks can't be broken with melee attacks, despite being able to do that the whole game. And this doesn't feel satisfying to go through, and only pads out the experience even more. We try to run away and end up going into a field where we enter a barn, and then we get a flashback of Ruvik's origin. His real name is Ruben Victoriano. Let me know if I pronounced it right or not. He had a sister named Laura who he loved a lot. They were playing in their barn when some farmers came to burn it down, unaware of their presence. They burnt the barn down, then we have to escape the building, but the red cloud monster won't let us, and now we need to fight him. It's not a boss fight, it's just an arena with him, as an extra way to instantly kill you. After that, Laura sacrifices herself for Ruben to escape. This is the reason why Ruben's dad decided to hide his son, which is fucking dumb. Also, I forgot to mention that in the safe room there are newspapers that reveal info on Ruvik, or other things. One of them mentions a car crash despite the fact that Ruvik killed his parents in the house. How Ruvik managed to fake the crash, I don't have a clue still. I forgot a lot of the newspapers, to be honest. After that, we go down a ladder and see another flashback of Ruvik and Marcelo talking, and we go into some room with some kind of carnival-style blade machine, and no matter what you do, this blade trap activates regardless, and you can't stop it. Here we open the gate and go down a ladder and try to power up a door where we meet a new enemy known as Trauma. I personally think they should have used him as a boss instead of an enemy. He takes up a lot of ammo to kill, and what's worse is that later on you have to fight two of them. It's ridiculous if you ask me. After that stupid fight we opened it, and opening the door, we meet Laura again. If you haven't figured it out yet, she's a representation of Ruvik's sister who was burned. This entire segment with her just sucks. There's so many unnecessary obstacles that it just gets enraging. I died so many times here too. This game just loves to overpower you in many unfair ways possible. After burning her a bunch of times and getting into an elevator, Ruvik confronts us and says he knows who we are and he'll make us do something, but I don't know what he'll make us do. We go down the elevator and back to the mansion, where we go down the hall and see Marcello using Leslie as a subject for a machine. He says Leslie has made it through STEM without losing his mind. In other words, a lot of subjects died in STEM, but Leslie's the only survivor. After the machine is activated, we're fading into a room with bathtubs and stuff. But it doesn't work because of Amalgam Alpha showing up somehow. Marcello does a forced realization speech that doesn't make sense. He says it wants out and he couldn't be bothered to move out of the way and get smashed, and then Sebastian and Leslie somehow clip through the walls. This scene doesn't feel earned, it just happens and is over with quickly and ignored, which goes for a lot of plot points in the game. Silent Hill Homecoming did this scene a lot better. After going through some halls and Amalgam Alpha trying to get us, we're in a parking garage and Amalgam headbutts us into a small area and we have to fight him. Again, I died a lot of times here and I still think I die here today. He is way too overpowered. After that, we go through an elevator and we see the city, which is destroyed. After surviving an elevator fall and looking through the rubble, we encounter a water creature that we need to get the dead bodies in the water to distract it. You can't shoot the ropes. You have to shoot the bodies for them to drop. Again, not explained. After that, we enter another arena where zombies now can use crossbows, machine guns, and they have infinite ammo. Of course, like any other arena, I died so many times here. The game simply can't think of anything else other than arenas to show a challenge. To top it all off, they had a rail shooter segment. After exploring, going through a destroyed building, and being teleported to our safe room 2 more times, we see Kidman, and after going through another swimming segment where I died multiple times, we get to the building and we rescue her. Then we go down some stairs and suddenly Sebastian turns into a zombie and attacks Kidman, but she shoots him and somehow we survive. Here's another plot hole. How in the goddamn hell do the zombie transformations work? Seriously, it just happens for no reason. Like, I know a lot of you might say that it's probably Ruvik doing this, but how? Like, can't the game show how it's done? Seriously. Even recounting all the God. Let's just continue. Moving on. Kidman leaves Sebastian and we find Leslie, who runs away. We follow him into a gas-filled mannequin storage. Make sure not to use guns, explosives, or anything, otherwise the building will explode, instantly killing you. After that, we see Joseph in the distance and we travel over there. It's unknown how Joseph gets there. All he says is it wasn't easy. Also, Joseph found a working bus. We get on, Kidman finds us and starts up the engine. Sebastian asks Kidman what she's doing here for some reason, but then a creature appears and we start driving away. This driving level is a hybrid between a racing segment, boss fight, and an arena. 3-in-1 level, no joke. After that, Joseph says they're being switched around places by someone's will. Again, more spoilers. Ruvik. Ruvik's the one doing all this. This scene wouldn't be aggravating if it was shown this late in the game. After that, Joseph gets shot and we stop when we see an ambulance and we have to go over there to find some medical equipment. We go through some path with zombies and barrels. After that, we get the blood pack and the zombies come zooming on a truck with a machine gun. After that, we heal Joseph and take control as Kidman, ramming the bus through everything. I'll admit this part is actually cool. I may have been too negative on the game so far. There are some good moments, but this is getting long enough. After that, Ruvik appears and levitates the bus and causes us to crash. Of course, we survive this. Then we go through a building, finding a new trap. Along the way, we see a subway. Joseph says it's sticking out of the ground, but it's mostly sticking from 2 buildings like a bridge. Our goal is to get to it. We shoot an elevator to get to a lower floor, but it falls after Sebastian gets across. Joseph somehow finds another way to get down, and we go through the halls. However, we see the Keeper lurking around. Also, I died on this level a ton of times for some reason. I kinda forgot how. There's also an optional boss with the Keeper. I recommend not to fight him. Just wait until he leaves. Make sure to crouch the whole time. The acid trap takes a long time to be disarmed. Make sure you're crouching behind Keeper, but look out for traps he's set along, such as the wire traps and barbed wire traps. After that, we wander some more and see the reporter guy. I think I may have forgotten to mention him, but just in case, we meet him a few times through the game. Then we are teleported to our safe room again, after going out through more running and seeing zombies with bombs attached to them. Honestly, this game gets worse even on the easiest difficulty. The difficulty of the game is always the same, no matter what you change it to. I know I keep going off topic, but it really is that big of a problem. The only thing the difficulty changes is the enemy placement and traps. We get to a huge kitchen where we see Joseph being chased by Keeper. Then Ruvik appears and turns the whole kitchen into a fucking death trap in a transition and look that is probably relatable to Silent Hill's Nightmare World scenarios in an exaggerated way, proving my point on the difficulty. After another encounter with the Keeper and after getting to the bottom outside the building, we follow Kidman and Leslie. Kidman tries to shoot Leslie, but we stop her and ask her why she's doing this. She says Ruvik is after Leslie, but she doesn't say why. Sebastian says he knows what Leslie will become, but how? Then Leslie screams, causing the world to vibrate and shake. Leslie runs away, Kidman shoots Joseph by accident, and chases Leslie. The buildings shift, the floor under Sebastian breaks, and he falls down again. After going through a subway station which somehow leads to some sewer jail or whatever, we find an elevator, fight a boss named Quell, who can turn invisible and hide in places, and we solve a decent puzzle. After getting on a train, some steel bars smash in, saying, "You will suffer." Ruvik appears again, causes the train to fall, then we are teleported to the hospital. We see a flashback of Ruvik and Marcelo fighting because Marcelo published STEM under his name somehow, and he brought Mobius agents to deal with Ruvik. Ruvik's brain was removed from his body and used to power the STEM machine. After that's over, we repeat taking cords out of the zombies. The STEM machine blows and we get a vision of something. Then we see Kidman looking at us, and then she leaves. A figure somehow shrouded in black shoots us. We wake up from our hospital room, and the nurse is no longer with us. By that I mean she's disappeared. Also, the safe room is crumbling, and the doors are wide open. I forgot to mention another thing. The door opening animations are the worst in my opinion. They are so slow in your safe room. Sometimes you can bash them open, but most times they are slow as hell. This makes the safe room more of an obstacle. Almost more than half of the levels are obstacles. I'm convinced there's almost no scrapped content for the game. This is one of those games where developers crammed every idea in the game in a confusing or weird order. We go down the hall and see Leslie huddled in front of the mirror. He stands up and tells us to follow him. We follow until the floor breaks beneath us again. And we're outside Beacon Mental Hospital, where we go inside after more running and ladder climbing. A tape recorder plays of Ruvik, how he discovered the power of the STEM machine. Sebastian says he brought it on himself, although it's not true because we saw what happened. You can disagree here if you would like to. Doesn't matter. After revisiting maps of the first level, we go through areas previously inaccessible and find an outdoor area in the hospital while Leslie looks up in the sky and goes inside. We go inside too, down the hall where the reporter guy calls us and tells us to look out for Ruvik's eye. Then we're in his cell and he's dead. You have the choice to burn his body or not. The cop killing from the first level replays, and Ruvik grabs us. Sebastian smashes his lamp at him, and Ruvik catches fire, and Sebastian looks in Ruvik's eye. I think we're teleporting to another arena, where I don't think I'll say anything about it other than the sadist comes back with a rocket launcher. After that, there's another boss fight with two keepers, which references the final battle with Pyramid Head in Silent Hill 2. Then we are subjected to a path that is empty until Ruvik fills it with traps. I died a lot of times here, some were because of the eyes. The final segment is where a moving saw blade thing chases us, and I died so much times here too. The entire story is padded with ridiculous obstacles that just annoy so much that I bet it's worse than Silent Hill Homecoming and Downpour combined. I know that sounds subjective, but I don't care. I said it. Come at me. Argue with me. I dare you. At the end of this dumb obstacle course, we are back outside, and we enter another elevator, where we go up and get in the room where STEM is operating, and we see all the bodies of the people in STEM. After Sebastian sees himself, Leslie comes running with Kidman chasing him. After the awkward chat, the brain thing comes making the high-pitched noise. I personally think it's the equivalent to Silent Hill's air raid siren noise when a transition to the other world happens. Only Sebastian is hurt for some reason. Ruvik stands while Leslie approaches him, and Kidman and Sebastian just stand there, even though they're supposed to stop Leslie from reaching Ruvik. Ruvik absorbs Leslie, and the final battle begins. The boss has a lot of phases where it can kill you in just one hit, and trust me, it isn't any fun. A lot of moments happen, such as turrets, rocket launchers, etc. After we shoot Ruvik in the monster's mouth, he goes nuts and explodes. Sebastian wakes up in the STEM terminal room, goes to the core, which is the brain, in the center of the room, and destroys it. Then we wake up again, see Kidman telling someone to leave Sebastian and 2 others behind. Sebastian wakes up, walks out through the elevator, where we see 3 dead cops, which brings another plot hole. If Ruvik was in STEM, how did he kill the guards in real life? After Sebastian gets to the entrance, the cops come rushing in and ask Sebastian what happened, and he says he needs some real fresh air. We see Leslie walking. Sebastian hears a high-pitched noise, and suddenly Leslie is gone. The camera goes up and the game ends. Now, for those of you who have skipped here to avoid spoilers, here's my final opinion on the story. It's bad. Not well written, it felt padded, the pacing was slow, there were a lot of good ideas that were used in really poor ways. Everything is mostly forgettable. Writing the story for this review took about 6 or 7, maybe even 8 pages. The writing is bad, like seriously. How can anyone say this is a good story? Like seriously, I understand people have opinions, but these opinions I can't agree with them. No, you can't say the story is good. I think I might make a separate video for the gameplay, presentation, performance, and other stuff about it. Thank you for watching this review. Sorry if my voice was low or didn't sound very high. I don't know. I hope you enjoyed regardless. Make sure to subscribe, like, comment, etc. I'll see you all later.